Hello everyone, Vincent here from HDTV Test here. Sony Professional has launched 3 new projectors today, and I'm conducting an online interview with Mr. Chris Mullins, who is the European Home Cinema Manager for Sony Professionals. Thanks a lot, Chris, for taking the time to speak to us.
Thanks, Vincent. Yeah, very happy to have an interview with you and to discuss these 3 new exciting models with you.
Yes. I guess with what's happening around the world, more and more people are staying in, and home entertainment is certainly on the forefront of many people's minds. Now, can you please run us through these 3 new models that you have launched today?
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, we feel exactly the same actually. With the global pandemic that's happening at this time, we're seeing many more people spend more time at home, obviously working from home as well. And we see that home entertainment is going to be much more of a focus where we're seeing that in the market, and people are looking to have or to improve their home entertainment spaces and invest in that to really entertain their friends and family in a safe place when they can't go out to do that. And that kind of fits in perfectly with us kind of launching these 3 new models. So we're looking to really deliver a new HDR experience with projectors. That was kind of our core goal with these three new models. And because normally when you speak about projectors and HDR, normally you say, oh, the peak brightness isn't high enough, or the dark scenes are too dark. But with each of these new models that I'm going to take you through, they really do deliver a new HDR standard on screen. So yeah, let's get into each of the new models. So we have 3 new models to show you, and we have a brand new flagship projector from Sony. So we have the VPL-GTZ380. This is our new flagship SXRD projector. It's actually used both in our B2B side of the business for visualization simulation, and also now it's available for residential as well. And it's a 10,000 lumen native 4K high contrast with great color performance projection system, and it utilizes our brand new X1 Ultimate for projector chipset. So this is an optimized X1 Ultimate specifically for projection. Yeah, and this will be priced at $79999 to the market. And alongside that, we also have 2 new models as well. We have our new premium laser projector, which is our VPL-VW790. So this is the successor to our VW760. And the VW760 really changed what's possible with high-end laser projection in terms of price point. And with this particular projector, we will be coming in at a slightly lower price than previously at around £12,000. And this will utilize another brand new chipset, processing chipset from Sony, the X1 for projector, and that will really benefit consumers with the dynamic HDR enhancer and super resolution benefits as well. And then finally, the final product we'll be introducing is the VW590, our premium lamp projector, which is the successor to the VW570. So again, this benefits from our X1 for projector, and the estimated retail price is around £7,000, which is again slightly cheaper than our £1,000 cheaper than our previous model. Yeah, I have a lot of details about these to talk you through. So Vincent, if you're happy, I can carry on.
Let's delve into the first one, your flagship model, the GTZ380, which I presume is a successor for the VW5000 that you have launched quite a few years ago. And can you give our viewers a rundown of the core features of this model then?
Yes, yeah. So the VW5000 will actually be staying in our lineup.
Oh,
actually,
right.
It will stay in at 5,000 lumens. So still a very impressive machine for a certain size. And then this will come in above the VW5000 with the GTZ380. But yeah, it really does deliver, I think, the first ever true HDR image quality on screen. And when we talk about HDR, many people just look at the brightness and go, oh yeah, the peak brightness is well, whatever it is. And they forget about the other things. So when you talk about HDR, you really need to cover off the brightness, the resolution, the contrast, and the color performance. And with the GTZ380, we really do cover all those aspects. So firstly, with brightness, it's 10,000 lumens. So this is twice as bright as the VW5000. And that means you can actually hit like typical brightness levels on up to 8-meter screens. So that's like 30-foot Lamberts on 8-meter screens, which is quite large for any residential space. But actually, we would probably suggest using it on a slightly smaller screen, maybe 4 or 5 meters, and getting that real HDR brightness on screen, maybe 400, 500, or 600 nits on screen is achievable with that level of brightness. And that really does redefine the overall impact of the image as well. Alongside that, it's also native 4K. So this is kind of a typical point for Sony. We've been doing native 4K for more than 9 years now. We really don't think there's any substitute for having all the pixels on the panel and all those pixels on the screen to deliver that clarity. With this particular model, we have a brand new, actually, SXRD panel, still the same size, 0.74-inch chip panel size, but it is now a super resilient panel. So with all that brightness going onto those small panels, they need to be resilient. So that is one improvement that was necessary for this particular model. Alongside that, we also have its high contrast. So it has infinite to 1 dynamic contrast and a very, very high native contrast. So with SXRD, typically you're looking at maybe eight times more contrast than you get with a typical DLP projection system. So you get those deeper blacks and more shadow detail. So yeah, that combination of high brightness and high contrast is really what creates that dynamic range. If you're missing the contrast, you just have a very bright image and not the HDR that we were expecting. And alongside that, we also have DCI P3 color space, which isn't all that unique these days. You see quite a lot of projectors with DCI P3 color space capability, but typically you have to do a compromise between brightness and color performance. Typically you would have to put a color filter in front of within your projector to get that DCI P3, and you would lose 30-40% of your brightness. So you have to choose between brightness and color performance. But with the GTZ380, we've actually completely redesigned the laser light engine to be able to deliver DCI P3 at 100% brightness and in DCI D65 color temperature. So a fully calibrated machine will be at 10,000 lumens. So you have much more color volume than you would in other projection systems. So it really is a truly unique combination of image quality to deliver this real HDR experience. One of the more impressive things as well is also that you can fit all this stuff in quite a small chassis. I mean, this is a very similar, basically the same chassis size as the VW5000. So you get more than twice the performance in the same chassis. It's still a relatively large unit. It's still compared to maybe some of the lower end consumer units. But for a native 4K 10,000 lumen machine, this is maybe 20, 30 or 40% smaller than other available units on the market. So you can really install it in tighter spaces, have it in smaller rooms. And also being laser, you can also install it at many different angles. So if you fancy mirror rigs or other type devices, it's very flexible as well.
I'm interested in how you are achieving 10,000 lumens, while maintaining 100% of DCI P3 at full brightness. You mentioned a change in the laser engine. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yes, yes. So with the VW 5000, the previous flagship, we utilized two blue lasers. So one blue to create the blue laser light, and then one blue to excite a yellow phosphor wheel that then gets split into red and green. But with that particular laser light engine, we suffered a little bit on the red side when we had to filter quite a lot to get down to DCI P3. So with this particular model, we have added a deep red laser, and this covers more of that red area of the light spectrum, and this really enables us to deliver that 100% brightness, without any filtering at all. So you really get that enhanced color volume that I was talking about.
So the Sony GTZ380 flagship projector will have a new X1 Ultimate for projector chipset. Can you please explain, its benefits? What are its core features?
Yes, yeah. So I mean, with the Bravia, the Sony Bravia product line, our processing has been kind of well regarded with our flagship OLEDs. With the X1 Ultimate processor. So we have actually brought that chipset into our projectors and then optimized it for projection. So you can't use exactly the same chipset because OLEDs and LEDs and projectors have very different display characteristics. So it is an optimized version of the chipset, but it does use a lot of the same functionality. So for example, the object-based HDR remaster technology within that chipset will be available in this machine. The dual database processing, also the digital contrast optimizations will all be available, and also object-based super resolution. So with this flagship, you'll get a real best-in-class image processing, and also you'll have that dynamic HDR enhancer that I was talking about alongside that. So it doesn't take absolutely everything from TV, but takes those best-in-class parts for image quality and delivers those for our flagship projector.
Okay. In your presentation slide for the GTZ380, I noticed that the lens are going to be sold separately. Can you please explain, what types of lens are available, and also the pricing? Because obviously, as they say, if you have to ask the price, you probably can't afford it. But it would be good to let people know, what sort of price point are they talking about to add the lens to the projector as a whole package.
Sure. Yeah. So we will have actually at launch two lenses, or interchangeable lenses, I would say, for this projection system. And the reason why they're being sold separately is to be more flexible with your installation. So so depending on what your installation environment is, you can select the correct lens. So there will be, as I said, two lenses available. We'll have a what we call a normal throw lens, which will go from around 1.4 throw ratio up to around 2.7. And this will be estimated retail price will be around 8,000 euros. And this is the lens probably most applicable to, I guess, the residential installation market, that kind of throw ratio band. Alongside that, we will also have a short throw lens, which will be able to do between 0.8 and 1.0 throw ratio. So you can have it close to the screen, and that will be available for around £13,000 estimated retail price.
Great. Now let's move on to the VW790 then. Can you give us a brief rundown of the specifications of this projector?
Yes, so the VW790 is the successor to the VW760. So it actually contains everything that was within that 760 model. So it's 2000 lumens, it's native 4K, and more importantly, it's a laser projector. And yeah, with this new price point, it's probably the most accessible laser or premium laser projector that you can get on the market today. And it includes all those benefits that we had from the previous 760. But the one new thing that we have with the 790 this year is the X1 for projector. The X1 for projector optimizes a couple of areas beyond what we had previously. So with this new processor, we have much more capacity for high precision frame analysis. And we can deliver a new function called the dynamic HDR enhancer, which I'll go through in a bit more detail shortly, and also an enhancement to our super resolution reality creation, so improving that clarity as well. So if you like, Vincent, I can talk about the dynamic HDR enhancer a bit more.
Yes, yes. I think, among the AV circle, I think we call this dynamic tone mapping, but certainly, can you please explain to our viewers, the benefits that it brings, let's say, over your previous models?
Yes, yeah. So one of the core things we wanted to launch with these models, as I mentioned before, was that improvement in HDR quality. And one thing that really delivers that is by processing your content and looking at each frame by frame and analyzing it. And with this particular model, we've actually made like kind of 3 areas that have been improved. So firstly is the HDR analysis. So with this picture processor, we can actually analyze many more tones in the shadows and in the highlights than we could with our previous generation. So this enables us to be much more precise in what we do with the shadows and much more precise than what we do with the highlights as well. So once we've got that analysis, we do 2 things. We use signal processing with the highlight areas to deliver like more detail, actually more brightness and more saturation to all those specular highlights to like increase that kind of top end HDR part of the image. And then on the dark side, we actually use, where we can analyze the dark area of an image, we can use precision dimming, either by the laser light source and or the iris, depending on the model, to give you a deeper black level. So with this particular dynamic HDR enhancer, we're looking to increase the dynamic range. We're not looking just to, on a dark scene, shift it up, or on a bright scene, shift it down. We really want to improve and increase that dynamic range possible. And with this model, or with this functionality, we really do deliver that. So in the dark scenes, when you bring that black level down, you get all that shadow detail, all the dynamic range, all the way up to those peak highlights as well. And similarly on bright scenes, again, we have it, as you say, dynamic tone mapping. So when you get the bright scenes, you have it much closer to the PQ curve, and it rolls off towards the edge as well, so you don't lose as many details as well on the bright scene. And from our point of view, it's all about delivering a functionality that can be used day in, day out. So regardless of your content that you're watching, the projector will analyze the histogram of the image that's being shown, and will choose the correct settings for you. So it's kind of that ease of use option as well with this particular function.
Will this feature be available through a firmware update to the 760, if possible?
So unfortunately not. So this utilizes a brand new chipset from Sony. So unfortunately, it's not possible to implement that with the previous generation, either the 570 or the 760, the previous models for these machines.
Mm-hmm. With this new X1 for projector chipset, you also have an improvement in terms of the super resolution. Can you explain that a bit?
Yes, yeah. So we have an enhancement to our super resolution reality creation, and our reality creation suite on our projector is something we've been very proud of for many years. And it really analyzes images right down to the pixel level and uses our powerful pattern recognition algorithms that we've kind of built upon year on year from our Bravia side, also our home projector side, to enhance the overall image clarity, but only in the areas where you want it. So if you're looking at a person's face, for example, it will enhance the eyes, the hair maybe, but it wouldn't necessarily update or sharpen, should I say, the sky behind. So it's all about improving image crispness without enhancing the noise. This enables you to use or to show HD quality, can be kind of upscaled up to near 4K quality. And with this particular update for the 590 and 790, there is actually an enhancement to the kind of high frequency details. So where you've got hair or very fine textures, they have been improved still further. With this X1 for projector processor, so you get that for even more 4K clarity on screen.
Okay, let's move on to your lamp-based 590ES then. Can you again give us a rundown of the core features?
Yes. So the VW590 is, as I mentioned, the successor to the VW570. So you get all the benefits you had from the 570. So that it's 1800 lumens, it's a native 4K projection system. Also, you get the picture positioning, so you're able to switch very seamlessly from 2:3:5 to 1 aspect ratio to 16:9 if you want that more cinematic experience. And with this particular model, it's around £1,000 more cheaper than the previous model. And we will be implementing two new features with this model. We've got the X1 for projector that I mentioned about the 790, but also we'll be implementing the digital focus optimizer as well. So just to give you a little reminder about the digital focus optimizer, this was actually launched a couple of years ago with the VW870. And then was implemented last year via a firmware update to our 760 and the 5000. And what this does is it's about improving the clarity. So with any projector lens, when you shine something on a screen, you're going to have some blurring towards the corners. And what this digital focus optimizer does, it kind of pre-compensates for those corners and enhances just those areas to improve the resolution through various tonal contrast and sharpening just in those areas. To give you a very uniform 4K resolution from center to corner. And it's quite clever as well. I mean, it's even quite a dynamic adjustment if you use lens shift, if you've got quite a challenging installation environment. If you lens shift all the way for the left, for example, it'll correct more to the right side. Or if you zoom in and zoom out, it will do different levels of correction. So it has a whole profile of how of the lens, and will adjust accordingly to give that 4K clarity.
Cool. With Sony themselves launching the PlayStation 5 towards the end of this year, I think HDMI 2.1 is at the forefront of many potential buyers of display devices. Now, what is the status of HDMI 2.1 on these three projectors?
Yes, so for the VW790 and 590, so the HDMI ports are HDMI 2.0B. So yeah, we do not have HDMI 2.1 implemented. So with HDMI 2.0B, you can show 4K 60p at 10-bit, 422 10-bit. So very, very high quality 4K. Just one comment about gaming with these particular devices. I mean, with the current generation of consoles, say like the PlayStation 4, the 4K level is kind of typically upscaled 4K at 30p. And as you move to the next generation, the step up in kind of the baseline performance will be a much more kind of native 4K resolution at 60p. And with the large screen performance you can get with these models, I really think you'll have a really great gaming experience at with the performance that we can deliver with these machines. Also, they do have a input lag reduction setting as well for like a game mode. So you can hit 4K 60p at 27 milliseconds. So again, you can have kind of a lag-free experience. And with the next gen games actually bringing in more than just image quality benefits, also immersive audio is quite a big thing that's coming with the next generation. I really can't think of anything a better place to play your next gen consoles than in a home cinema environment with immersive audio and the native 4K projection systems on screen as well. Just to move on to the GTZ380. So this model is actually capable of delivering 4K 120p 444 10-bit. But as I mentioned, this model is also for B2B and residential. So that 4K 120p is capable via 2 display ports, which are DisplayPort 1.4. You can get that performance. There are also alongside that 2 HDMI 2.0B ports where you can achieve that 4K 60p playback, as I mentioned before. There are a couple of advantages with the GTZ380 as well. You do get a slightly improved input lag, so 21 milliseconds for 4K 60p. If you do utilize the display ports for 4K 120p, it actually goes down to 13 milliseconds, so even faster or even lower transport delay in that particular setting. But we recognize getting HDMI 2.1 to 2 times DisplayPort is a bit tricky at the moment. So we do support our flagship products. So we don't have anything to announce as of today, but we are investigating what we can do to make this a bit more palatable for consumers in the future, getting that 4K 120p.
Yes, I think 21 milliseconds is in line with the figures that I normally get from X1 Ultimate TVs, from the consumer side, certainly. Last question, when will people be able to buy these projectors?
Yes, so for the 590 and 790, they are available as from today. So they're in the warehouse ready to go. And for the GTZ380, it will be available from January next year.
Yeah, okay. Right, Chris, that was very informative, and I really do wish you all the best with the sales of your new projectors. I certainly look forward to reviewing one if you can send one now. Certainly probably not the top-end GTZ380. I doubt you'll be sending that out to journalists anytime soon. But yes, I'll be interested to see the new dynamic tone mapping feature on the 790 and also the 590ES, and then yes, I think is there anything else that we have left out that we would like to say to our viewers?
No, I don't think so, and for sure we'll definitely get your review unit. I think your reviews are particularly informative, so I really look forward to you seeing is believing, as we say in this business with the projectors. So for the viewers, hope you really enjoyed these new product introductions, and there's no better experience than home cinema in the home. So think about us next time you're doing your next home improvement maybe.
Yes. So thanks Chris, thanks for taking the time to speak to us and explain to our viewers your new projectors, and stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, you too.